All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Oshi no Ko, Season 2, Episode 3, a stage around play. Because we don't have anything else to do, because the entire production is frozen.
Frozen, stiff.
Yeah.
Not in a fun way. We have all of this basically to thank for the mangaka ending up kind of coming in and rather than starting a dialogue and maybe making
Ending
compromises.
a game of telephone.
Or, yeah, what have you, ended the game of telephone by basically coming in with the megaphone, if you will, and just being like, this is the way things are gonna go. I will breach contract. I do not give a fuck. Which is pretty impressive, to say the least, but also it's very...
Definitely a level of commitment.
Very fucking immature. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see how Aqua potentially learns a little bit more about both sides of things here and then can end up being the mediator. He is the, properly reincarnated adult in the younger, one's body, so he can use
He might be able to bridge the gap a little.
Yeah, he might be able to bridge the gap with some logic and what have you. But it might just be too late, no matter what.
Yep.
So they end up having to just do what they can with what they have.
Who's to say? And, oh, hey, yes, mangaka, yeah, you're going to write a stage play. Being involved in the process, I'm all for that. But, what happens when you realize, oh, shit, wait,
This is hard.
this is hard.
This is really hard.
Damn.
Help?
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Hey! Nice! Oh, cool, whatever. Ah, sure.
俳優の堂山くんから DM で食事に誘われたとか。で行くん？わかんない。あの人遊んでるって話、そこかしこで聞くし。
Yeah.
Right, and then how do you talk with people about this stuff?
Please help, yeah. Just to be able to complain, right?
Right. Is this person about to complain about work?
Yeah. Ah, ping pong.
I see why.
Ping pong boys. It's basically an idol group, yeah. Whoa. Man was just spiritually ascended there.
Right.
Yeah, you were breaking all apart and just able to take everything.
The drama nerd is eating good.
Yeah. And now you're loving it, and we can gush about it together, and that means we'll do more of these.
Yep.
Right.
Okay,
This is
I was
the
gonna
top
say.
end of things. Fancy finding you two here. Of course.
Expect nothing less.
今日も出版社側とやり合ってきたんだけど、やっぱり原作者の先生が堅くなみたいでね。おそらく原作者は舞台も装置のことも何も知らない。
Right.
高校の体育館でやることを想定した脚本が上がってきますよ。気づいてる？今日の舞台の脚本もゴア君が書いてたんだよ。
Oh.
Dang. That's a connection point. We can show her this play.
Right, show her the play, then have her look at the original material, or vice versa.
Yeah.
でもどうにかできるのはライダさんだけですよ。原作者にも脚本家にも主張がある。問題はそこに存在するディスコミュニケーションだ。それさえクリアできればより良い舞台になる可能性すら感動大にちょっと小づくくらいをしておくか。
Cool.
How?
Cool.
どうやって書くんですか？これ液タブって言ってモニターに直接書く。
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are
全部デ
legit.
ジタルなんですね。早速乾杯って思ったけど、みんないくつだっけ？
Right.
16です。
17、
16。
17。わっか。
Babies.
ゴアさんに助け舟を出すって話だったと。
Right, right, but we're here.
それがどうして先生のところに遊びに来ること？
I mean,
漫画家に限らず、一度売れた創作者ってのは大体自分が一番実力があると思ってるって助言を聞き入れるのは同業者。
right. Because they've experienced the same thing.
先生、お忙しい中ありがとうございます。いや、まあ私は月間だから。
Nice.
Easy schedule. Let's go.
基本的に週刊連載って人間のやる仕事。もう週刊用にチューンアップされた兵士がやる仕事だから。アビコ先生とは昔からのお友達なんですか？京アマの時うちでアシスタントして。
Not a yes.
Right.
Because they're not really friends. Yeah.
漫画家同士って漫画を読めば作者がどういう人間なのか大体わかるのよ。
Sure.
どういうところでわかるんですか？大体絵でわかるわ。
The drawings.
Okay.
That's cool.
この子は他者と分かり合いたいけどそれができずに苦しんでる子だって。
Mm.
All right.
だからちょっと私から絡むようになったら割とな。
Right, so it was easy then because you knew that this was what she was looking for.
Right.
挫折も知らずに売れたから自分の意見が絶対だと思ってる感じに出てるの。編集の仕事って2つあるの。
Ah,
Yes, let's get into it.
Yes.
売れる漫画を作らせること。
正解。1つ目はそれ。
Right.
2つ目は
Facilitate relations.
No. No.
売れた漫画を終わらせないこと。
Oh. Oh.
査定に響く。メディアミックス中の作品なんてまあ終わらせてくれない。
No way.
その結果、こっちは忙しいんです。こんなのやりません。売れた漫画家は増長していく。
どうした有馬？
The industry literally props them up.
Yeah.
周りにイエスマンしかいないと本当にだ。
It's like looking back on like old photos when you were going
Yeah.
through a phase.
Yeah.
私もアビコ先生に思うところは死ぬほどある。
Yeah. But just because of that doesn't mean I have that insight.
先生が組みすぎなんじゃないですか？え？現場を信じて任せて。京アマはああなっちゃったんじゃないですか？
That's
Wow.
below the belt.
信じられるのは自分の才覚だけ。
It's amazing how easy it is to see it from like this perspective.
Oh yeah.
But like most people do believe this way when they've gotten to this point.
Right. Because there is a reason she's gotten this far, you know?
But it's not by her own wit.
早いわね。
Yeah, or if that is part of it, it's only part of it.
It's not even like
先生は私の師匠ってずっと思ってます。
But not anymore.
私が味方をしてあげないと。
Ooh, okay.
本当ごめんね。舞台のスケジュールとか押してるのも知ってるんだけど、この件に関しては力になれないかし。
you have to go directly to the source.
でも一つだけ。
Yep, yep.
これをアビコ先生に渡してもらえませんか？
Cool.
What is it though?
Well, it's something that's tying to the whole idea of the plays themselves, like
Yeah.
the actual stuff that he just watched.
あれ？そっちの締め切りって昨日じゃなかった？オーバーしてるの？こんなんでアシスタント呼べるの？今アシスタントいないの。
Oh,
None.
they
何度言っても絵柄合わせてくれないし。
ah.
寝てるの？一応毎日2時間は寝てるので。
No.
なんとか。それ死ぬわよ。
Yep.
もっとリアルに言うなら、うつ病リタイアコース。
Sure.
二度と元のペースで書けなくなるわ。舞台の脚本。
Oh.
Yeah, you think you have time for that?
原稿終わったらやらなきゃ。
So yeah, you're her ally right now.
習慣で、なおかつ一人でやる密度じゃないでしょ。
Oh, also physical like paper and stuff,
Yeah.
not digital.
Right, right.
作品にこだわり強いのもわかるけど、こんな生活はダメよ。多少妥協しても 人間らしい生活をしなさい。少なくともこれは間違ってる。作品のクオリティを人質にしてまっとうなコミュニケーションか。
Oh shit!
There it is.
Oh shit!
そういうのって回り回って自分の首を絞めるの。
Spitting fire while drawing.
5000万部売ってから言ってもらいます。こっちはそういうレベルで戦ってるんです。言うようになったわね。
There you go. Good.
It's the conversation ender. Yeah, there you go. Oh shit! Why would you say that? Oh, I love this so much. Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is tying back into the play.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Uh-huh. Fucking spit.
And you had a
facts.
training arc with her, so.
Yeah, yeah. Just the drums just going ham here.
That was incredible.
I love every
Holy
bit of that
shit.
scene. God.
朝9時始まりの深夜4時終わりとかザラで。今日の時は本当にごめんなさい。今は割とホワイトよ。私もごめんなさい。ひどいことたくさん。
Nah, it's all good.
私も大概
We were just letting it all out.
歩み寄りなさい。
Compromising.
メディア
Yep.
ネックスは他人との共同制作。
Collaborate.
自分だけではできないことの集合体なんだから。
Ah. Mm-hmm.
今日からお世話になります。
Oh, here she is.
精一杯
All the notes that she'd made in, her copy of the manga.
Oh.
好きな作品汚される。絶対に嫌だろう。
Yeah.
私が一番よくわかってるんです。
Going back and rewatching the episode that worked. Yeah.
Yep.
Shit. Cool.
And it's the same, actors for a bunch of them. Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
書くなら参考になるかもしれないわよ。
Yeah, phrasing it like that too.
God, Aqua, you're so smart.
I love
Yeah.
The ED coming in before the episode had ended, that was well timed.
Ah,
Oh
well,
my
this
God,
episode didn't
I loved
hit
that.
close to home or anything at
Wow.
all. No.
I-
This episode was good.
This episode was so good.
This episode was.
The fact that it was able to take two characters that are, side characters that for the
Side
most part
characters,
are
right.
like relevant for this arc and like, all that stuff.
Yeah, they might not be ever shown again outside this season,
Yep.
probably. Like
And then have them just go into this full on like
tirade, rant at each other about things that are true, but in a way that is industry specific and saying like, hey, if you're going to start dishing things, you have to know that you're coming at me while I'm in a place of success. And if you had the willingness to do these things, maybe your, manga would have some success.
It feels like what would have happened if like, Gordon Ramsay and whoever taught him to cook, were like in a room together and just having a shouting match or
You
something.
mean his mother?
Okay. Well,
Yeah. Have you seen the episode where his mom comes on and kicks the shit out of him?
I haven't. That sounds fantastic.
It's amazing. He's like, oh, you've bloody ruined it. Oh, it's gonna be awful. And then she's like, no. Put your, check the center. And he's like, wait, that's fucking amazing. It's amazing.
I I love it so much. It gives me it reminds me of the scene in Sandlot.
Yes.
When the two groups of boys on the baseball field are just hurling insults at each other and just not holding back at all.
Nothing at all. But I really like this because this was a very on the surface episode with regards to the plot progression.
Sure.
It's very much the setup where Aqua can then give
the tickets and
Abiko the tickets so that then we, the audience, are able to almost doubly follow what's going on.
Right.
Because this was a commentary episode primarily.
Exactly.
And I think that's why I like it so much, was that in a lot of ways the plot kind of gets pushed to the side for a second here, because we know Aqua's going to find a way in which he'll be able to communicate things to the mangaka, but it's just how the mangaka is going to respond. So there's a lot of agency given to Abiko as a character, but then having our Sweet Today mangaka end up kind of being given the main character role for this episode a little bit.
And I like it.
By being the one that has to kind of break the news to Abiko.
Right.
Felt really, really good.
Because let's be real, Aqua could not do that. And
well, no, Aqua probably will actually do a lot once Abiko comes back into the play side of things.
Oh, sure. But the getting the person that is being unresponsive or has the walls up to actually be willing to consider, right?
Yeah.
That's you can't just make someone change their mind, right?
No.
And so here we get to see what it would take for that to happen when you have someone who is so obsessively dedicated to their work out of necessity as well as passion, that then it's like, oh yeah, just do it differently. And it's like, what? Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
Which is okay. So I want to take this in a direction here, because I love the exploration of the way in which we're specifically talking about the manga industry. And that in the manga industry, if you have a creator, the way they're describing this is that if they end up getting so successful that they end up getting basically puppeted or babied by an editor or a publishing company through the editor to basically just keep making that. Just keep making that gold for us. Then you will end up having them slowly lose it, and the series loses its luster and, freshness, and slowly goes downhill and inevitably dies. I'm sure there are plenty of ones out there that we could probably even identify as that.
Yeah.
But the part that I'm probably the most interested in is the idea that this is one where the story suits this tale, this stereotype even more. The mangaka is exceptionally young. This is their first success.
Right.
This is one that is their first manga in that regard. So there's a lot of things that are making this so there's very little nuance with regards to the actual plights of the mangaka, other than, this is a lot of pressure.
And as a result of that, I think that is something that helps in the overall plotting of the episode, because since the way that this show tends to do things is going to different mediums with the different arcs and everything, so that we can get different perspectives on how fiction is created in all its different forms.
Yeah,
we having it have a point where it's yes, this is the person that we want the Sweet Today mangaka to win the argument, and we know she will. It's just the question of how's it going to go, right?
Or how will then the mangaka Abiko basically respond and or act with this later, because that's going to affect our main cast. But there's a lot of actual nuance and stuff that's in some ways set aside for the purpose of moving the story along. And that's why I call this episode very plot simple, is that not really much nuance has gotten out of, except the harsh words thrown across the
exactly
the office, basically. Which I did like that we got some time to have, the Sweet Today mangaka then talking about this with the main cast, and everyone just kind of going, okay, we get it now. That makes sense. And then having, kind of just being like, Yeah, that.
I definitely don't know what that's
point
like.
where everyone babies you and it gets to your head and you become like incapable of taking any kind of criticism. I looked at this and was like, oh shit, wait, this applies to YouTubers.
Oh, absolutely.
This applies to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Like, this is the kind of thing where, in a lot of ways, I think most YouTubers don't really get through that point where they have a large setback. Most YouTubers, I would say, have just the slow ramping growth where if they stick at it long enough and they eventually get successful, their graph looks like this. There's a point where they just are off to the races, right? I would say very little YouTubers are in the we've been plugging along for 15 years, making linear growth the whole way.
Right, because in a lot of ways, you don't hear about those ones.
Well,
right?
no, they exist. They're just the outliers. Most of them, I would say, become successes in a very rapid period of time. So statistically, if you look at YouTubers, most of them hit that point where they get like 10,000, 100,000, or 250,000 subscribers or what have you, and then within 2 years they've added a zero onto their numbers, or more.
Sure.
And this happens the normal as far as the ones that get successful. Obviously, I'm ignoring all the ones that just don't do anything in that regard.
Exactly.
But the ones that have plugged on linear growth where they do struggle, they do actually have very long careers where after, 8-9 years or something of YouTube, then they're like, oh, okay, now it's hit that point where it's sustainable. I can think of maybe like 3 total where I'm like, this person is very big. They've been doing this for a very long time, but they've effectively just kind of hit that flat point where they're just like, yep, I've been here forever, not really doing anything crazy different anymore. I'm just kind of plugging in and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the others are in that thing where they hit some massive road to success or what have you. And then it just, right after that, it just either flattens, drops, or they just continue growing at this like astronomical rate for just a consistent period of time. And I would love to know, like, an interview like 100 YouTubers across different areas of this angle, like successful YouTubers, which ones ended up basically like hitting delusion land, and at what point did they do it, and at what point did they break out of it? Because I think you'd be able to just tell in an interview if they're in it.
Right.
But you'd also be able to tell if they're willing to talk about it, at what point and in what method they used to get out of it. Because like I'll bet you it's a very large percentage of YouTubers are kind of stuck in that, like, no, this is my baby, don't touch it. Nobody else knows how to actually give me any insight or anything into this. They're very much in their own heads.
Right, the number of YouTubers that don't bring on editors because they're like, but I have a very specific way that I do things, and the same kind of stuff that
true. That's another thing.
About. Yeah.
That's another thing. I know that there's a large number of YouTubers that are in kind of our peerage of other YouTubers that are like, oh no, I'll never bring in editors or what have you. Like, one, that's, money you have to spend, but also two, it's the, if I do that, one, changing of the editing style, but then also I'll have to kind of maybe adjust my style a little bit as well.
Right.
I'll have to change something. Mm-hmm. And I think about all that all the time. Like, what are the ways in which there's aspects of being a creative that I end up like actually like shutting myself off from feedback or criticism because people aren't in the same thing as me, or I actively seek out connections and friendships in the same space so that I can talk about this stuff.
Exactly.
But then the person at the high school brought up the thing of like, but that's actually weird because in some ways you could end up miscommunicating the reason for actually doing it, which is the emotional connection. But some people do it for bragging, or some people do it for all kinds of other reasons.
Right, like, because one of the things that I, just talking personal experience here, there will be any number of people that might give me feedback on, like, something related to, like, our videos, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's online and I don't, like, know the person, I have no metric for whether or not this is somebody that I actually want to trust the opinion of, right?
Okay.
And even if it's someone that I am close to from a relational standpoint, that doesn't necessarily mean that I feel like their opinion on this on YouTube videos is vetted. Same kind of thing with like writing or whatever, right? Lots of people have all kinds of different opinions, right? No duh. But like
buttholes.
The experience that your audience has with the creative thing that you're making, right? You can't argue with that. You can't say that is incorrect.
No.
But oftentimes when people try then to explain what they think is the issue that made them have that experience, they're usually wrong.
Right. Well, or they're not even usually wrong. It's just that most people aren't good communicators in that fact.
Sure,
so
that too.
The point of Raida, the director or producer guy coming in and being like, I just come and watch the faces because the faces tell the truth.
Right. Very simple, binary, yes, no, did they like it or not?
Well, I think what was really cool is that he was saying that smiling is good. Anything that's not smiling is bad.
Right.
And I think that there's something to be said for the binary aspect of it being so stringent upon what makes it good, but not about what makes it needing improvement or being bad. And there's something really cool about that is that it's not their fault they had a bad experience.
Nope.
In some ways, this is the part that I think is very, very important when we as creators or even as viewers of media or entertainment or what have you look at things here. There's a very weird argument that is had a lot of the times of it's your fault you had a bad experience with that media or that thing.
Oh, sure.
You didn't approach it correctly. You didn't set proper expectations. All those things are touched with some small level of something good. There's something in there that's a nugget of wisdom. But they're missing the point here. The idea that if someone is going to consume something, and if it's, something you like or you think it's objectively good, that doesn't mean that everyone must have a good experience with it or they didn't approach it correctly.
Right. It is the job of the creator to guide the experience of the audience.
Yep.
They cannot control the experience of the audience, but it is their job to guide them.
Yep.
And that's why it's so beautiful and impressive when it's done well.
Exactly.
Because it's like, wait a minute, you don't actually have control over my brain. So how did you make it that you knew that at this exact moment I'd be like, I hope this character dies, and then, oh, hey, they had a fantastic poetic comeuppance in the next page.
And what's so wonderful about that? They didn't. They didn't guide you there. They didn't know. They didn't have some like magic wand that made it all line up or what have you. There is something so beautiful about passion and the creative work of, I would say, storytelling specifically, that when you are immersed in a story, odds are you're going to enjoy it. Now, this is my argument here. Creators' job is to get you immersed. It is not their job to make you enjoy it. Because that gets into the control side of things here.
I would disagree, but...
No. But I want to get at it from the point of what this episode brought up, was the idea that Aqua watched the play specifically.
Yeah.
And the thing that made him so impressed about it was how, like, immersive it was.
Right.
The idea that something that is fully protected behind the screen, like it's already produced. There's no way it can go wrong, or there's no way someone can basically like miss something, in the sense that, if you're watching this, you're getting the experience, right?
Okay.
In a play, there's so many other things that can distract you or throw you off or what have you to not make the immersion happen.
Yeah.
But they showcase this really cool, innovative, newest techniques in theater productions to make
help
sure
the immersion along.
Right, but make sure the immersion is like the number one focus of it, all the way down to like special real effects with regards to like wind or pressure or 4D stuff or whatever that was.
Right.
That we as viewers or creators are going to have that point where we set things up in a way that immerses somebody, where they're basically fixated. They've lost connection with the outside world. They're in your world that you helped create, or you're in the creative person's world. When that happens, you can definitely fall out of joy or entertainment with the thing. Like you can get pulled out of it.
And that's, I would say, one of the most common problems that ends up happening is, regardless of what makes the person get pulled out of it, is that, oh, immersion was broken. Maybe you're trying to do something cool, but immersion was broken. What do? You gotta fix that. Yeah.
Right. But I'm talking about the act that gets them immersed, basically. And there are times, I would say, when we as viewers or basically people enjoying the media or what have you can get so immersed that we end up taking the world itself and we make it into like it's our baby, it's our thing, it's something that's like
it's taken on a life in our heads.
Yeah. But that's the point where the creator has they have no more responsibility with it. It's the idea that they were shippers in the world of the mangaka here. Yeah. That because they got so invested and so immersed and so good,
they're like,
which is good here, they got so passionate about it that they actually ended up directly helping or changing the story from the original design from this part there.
Yeah.
So I think that's an aspect of where the creator tried to then take those hyper immersed people and basically made it their responsibility to entertain them. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm trying to make the point that the creative's goal is to immerse them. Obviously, you're not going to be immersed in something you don't enjoy. But the idea that then from there you're responsible for their entertainment, I don't think that's the primary goal.
So, I would say the goal is still to entertain. The question is how conscious you will be about the audience. So in the case of like the shipping, right? The goal of the mangaka Abiko didn't change, and that's what made her make the ship canon, right? It's that she realized this was something that was entertaining people, and so I'll entertain them in this way, right?
Gotcha. So I would see where you're coming from with that. And I think that it's partially that, but wouldn't you say that the thing that made them really get into it with the other mangaka was that they loved the way that they were doing entertainment or what have you, but they let their desire to want to connect with people override their desire to make their story. And thus they were doing the shipping thing more so to want to feel like they are connecting with people because
it's possible because this, the mangaka is an individual and all that. So, we only know what we know from the episode.
Right. But we have to infer things.
Yes. Yeah. But I don't think that that's really the case because like nobody wants to hear someone say that they think your story sucks. Right.
And no one was saying that.
Well, let me cook. In the argument, right, when they were slinging all the insults and stuff, even though in the case of the Sweet Today mangaka, she went in there looking to basically kind of start a fight, right? The things that Abiko said back still hurt her, right? Like it wasn't like I expected that. She expected it and it still hurt, right? So I think the whole idea of the like where the creative space sort of connects with the audience and like how much like are you getting off track if you're considering the audience. I think there's definitely a way in which that can be true because everybody's different and so you can't please everybody, right? But I think there is an argument to be made of if the story that you end up making gets an audience that maybe isn't entirely what you expected, that, adapting to the audience that you do have is, I would say, important. And I would say that is part of the job of the creator, right? because like otherwise you're not really pursuing it from a professional standpoint. You're pursuing it from a purely artistic standpoint, which can be fine, but then you're not actually addressing the idea, the kind of stuff that the editor would be wanting to bring up of like, hey, these people like your thing, or these people might.
And this doesn't apply really too well outside of something where you're not doing repeat, frequent updates to your series or what have you, because this kind of thing can't be done with a single drop, what have you, thing. Just here's my story, go and have it here. A movie or a book just doesn't really apply
unless it turns into a series or a
franchise
TV show or a franchise or whatever.
Yeah. I think there's a couple examples of this in terms of anime production where a series starts off rather serious and then they move towards more comedic things, like Full Metal Panic and Fumofu, going from season 1 to season 2. But that might have also been just a production thing with regards to like what they were willing to do with where the manga was at, or any number of things there.
For that one specifically, I think it was because they ended up doing the 3rd season, which was then full series.
Where it's the season 1 style.
Well, we're just, separating church and state kind of, so that we'll have both, but they'll be their own things.
Right. But I've found that in a lot of the media that I consume, I'm going to specifically use video games as an example, because I think video games kind of bridges the gap of being like standalone installments, but also having the inherent nature that every video game wants to have a sequel. There is there are very little video games out there that are specifically made where there's no chance of there being a sequel. They kind of in some ways beget it by the nature of level design and the types of stories that are built around level design or lack thereof, because then it's very easy to make sequels because there is no story. Like FromSoft, for instance, Elden Ring was a great example of something where we kind of had a very specific example, or not a specific example, but specific vision for where the DLC would go. And yet the main things that they updated in the DLC with regards to things that the players were wanting were things that made the game primarily a little bit more accessible on the ease of use, like the entrance side of things, so that less people would quit early on, but actually took the overall criticism that Elden Ring was too easy and made the game like a lot harder in like a lot of the top end side of things, but made the bottom end side of things actually a little bit more open and accessible.
Right. And so to bring that back to the conversation about like audiences and things like that, what I would say that is, and let me know what you think about this, is that's the example of the creator needing to do the delicate dance of what does the audience say that they want versus what do they actually want, and then also what story do you want to tell?
Well, again, that's the part here where I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, and that's why I think that this plot doesn't go into the nuance of some of these things here, is that the audience is not one audience. There are like 25 audiences, and it's that, 2 of them actually don't want any of this. But 23 of them
there will be
really want this.
Right, there will be the people that will be dissatisfied with a stage play adaptation no matter how
good it is. Exactly.
Because there's going to be something that's changed.
Right.
And it makes sense for the mangaka to maybe be one of those people.
Yes.
Because of how much hard work they put into this whole thing.
Right.
But hey, maybe don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like there's a lot of good stuff that's in there.
Right.
Even if there's other things where tough choices had to be made.
And that's the part where I want to get at here, is that the stage play is new. There is no frame of reference for, what is even
Abiko?
The manga even called some Samurai Blade or something like that.
Tokyo Blade.
Tokyo Blade, yeah. There's no frame of reference for any of the people that are fans of this to know what a Tokyo Blade stage play even looks like.
Yep.
So the idea that we as viewers, as enjoyers, as fans of media end up looking at something and going, oh, well, this is going to be bad, basically, or I immediately don't like this because this is something that doesn't fit in the exact way of the manga there. This isn't made for them then.
Sure.
Basically, the job is to provide the opportunity to be immersed, but it is not the job to entertain. Meaning that some people are not even going to be able to be immersed there to be able to be entertained. You see what I'm saying?
Kind of.
You have to start with immersion so that you can get to entertainment, right?
Totally. Yes, asterisk, 98% kind of thing.
Yes,
but,
yes.
This was kind of where I was thinking that you were going to go when you brought up the whole idea of video games as being the perfect exploration of this. Because with a video game, because there is a more active involvement of the audience with like playing the actual game.
Sure.
It is much easier for the experience of the audience to vary because they are actively bringing something rather than just say, bringing their imagination or something when someone reads a book. You're controlling 100% of the experience with the book for the most part, right? Whereas with a game, they are playing whatever, they don't get
you're on a device that could fuck your entire game experience over for some reason. No, I wasn't trying to explore it from that angle. I was trying to explore it from the angle of it being a standalone versus a series, and that video games are kind of, in my opinion, the perfect bridge for that because they are almost never a standalone experience. There's always some kind of
certainly
sequel
if it's
thing.
successful, right? The goal is to
always
make a
if it's
sequel.
successful, right? But with movies and books, sometimes the difference between movie 2 and book 2 is so dramatic that some people look at the second thing in those elements as being so important that it's landed perfectly because it's the first proof of concept that a sequel kind of thing can be done, that those second movies or books or what have you that are done so well that they launch the entire franchise basically are looked back as the gods of entertainment media.
Right, Terminator 2, Empire Strikes Back, so many of them, right?
And then other ones
rather,
are the...
Not many of them, and that's why they stand out.
Right, and then the other ones are the, you could get hit with a Matrix 2.
Or a Dark Souls 2.
Or a Dark Souls 2.
Exactly, where it becomes a,
it becomes a loving joke almost.
Sure.
At best,
At best, right? And that's the kind of stuff that we got into in the previous episode. And so I like here that we get to see the way in which the perspective that Abiko has gets put under pressure as a result of pushback from somebody that they do respect that can actually talk the language.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, this situation that they are in, yes, is Abiko immature in different ways? Sure. But the communication was not handled well, right?
No.
And so the frustrations and concerns that she had that are legitimate were not able to actually be addressed or even they weren't even really being acknowledged. And so here, of course, this would be the kind of person, relationship aside, that might be able to actually reach them because they can go into the shit flinging contest of like, well, what about your story with this and all of those things, right? And eventually when she brings up well, have you sold, 50 million copies, right? It's well, no, obviously not, right? Great. You have a thing that nobody else can
that's a nice,
fight back
unbeatable retort.
But
well done.
Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back. But what about this? Right? And then she just keeps going unabated, and I love that so much.
I love that so much because I love the nuance of Abiko's right in that she's in a situation that's untenable and unsustainable for adding in new work, basically. She can only do just about this, and she can probably actually more realistically do about 90% of what she's doing right now.
Yep.
And the only reason she can probably do it right now is because she hasn't been doing long enough that it's not mentally worn her down to the point where her work has started to suffer. She's still doing highly detailed art every once in a while that makes the other mangaka go like, wait, why is this like this? You're doing a weekly manga series. Come on, like you aren't
right.
You aren't trying to put out Berserk here or something. Like let's keep things within the realm of realistic here. But then it's if you have this very successful series and what have you, they told you the stage play creators, you are not really going to be able to know whether this is going to be good until you see it. Now, what they might have more realistically set up with expectations is not that when you see it, it's going to immediately click for you.
Right.
But it's more that, hey, this is an area where if you were actually able to be professionally mature, we'd be able to tell you what we really think, which is, you don't know anything about this here.
Right.
You can call the contract and say we don't know what we're doing, and we'll end this whole thing, and everyone will lose money. It'll be a really sad.
Yep.
It'll be a really depressing thing here. Or you can look at the way in which we've done things here, ask us to continue to make compromises, and we'll make compromises all the way up until the production is done here. Obviously, we won't be able to do all the things that you want us to do.
Right. It's
here.
compromises, not, full submission acquiescence.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And then when you see the actual full stage play, which, yes, that is a lot of faith you're putting in us, I think you'll see something there that's pretty good.
Hence, Aqua's whole thing of getting the tickets, is effectively just being able to communicate in a more immersive way.
Yep.
The thing that the production people were telling Abiko from the beginning, but maybe also when you compound, corporate telephoning on top of that with, tense emotional stakes and whatnot, things get lost in translation.
Right. To add some more nuance to even my immersion versus entertainment thing, it's not the creator's job to get people's butts into the seats in that respect. It's that once they're sitting in the seats, to give them a really good experience. And that people who know better how to put people's butts into the seats, specifically, like the editors, the marketers, all those other people that are working on this project, they're doing hard work. And a lot of people basically just look at the one person in these very specific key parts and go, this person is such a good writer. And it's like, well, did you know that actually the artist who designed the manga's chapter or volume covers is actually a lot of the reason why this manga became so successful by volume 3, because when you look at it on the shelves, it just pops in this very specific way.
Sure.
And that adds something to the snowball value of the sales or something like that. Or the way in which the assistant that works really hard with making sure that the flow of the panels goes a specific way. And it's just like, oh no, it's just the one person who kicks out all their assistants.
Well, yeah, that goes back to the whole line. The other line that was just so good was so basically you're holding the quality of your work hostage.
Yep.
Because you don't want to communicate in things, right?
Yep.
Which,
yep.
Yeah, because guess what? The quality of your work's going to suffer if you're the only one doing it and not getting any sleep.
Or if you believe you're the only one that's the reason why it's successful. I think this is another thing that we as creators and also the creative community just needs to make sure that they're listening to and keeping themselves in check a little bit here, is that you're not the only reason why your stuff is successful.
Sure.
You're not. You're not. You started the thing that ended up becoming the thing that is now successful.
Right.
And again, I'm not talking to people that are out there struggling, grinding by themselves, trying to figure out how to make this thing successful. I'm talking about after the point that it's been successful, there's a reason why it continues being successful. And it's not just the work itself is good.
Right. I'll be
Sometimes
specific
it is
here.
Pretty close to that.
Asmongold's Clip channel is successful specifically because of that fantastic editor.
Okay.
The creator, oh yeah, sure, he's there too, but...
All right. Sure.
That's just a favorite example of mine.
Sure. I look at specifically, for me, I look at movies, and I think a lot of people look at actors or directors specifically and go, that's the reason why this one is successful. And every time I learn a little bit more about movies, I realize how many hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people, not thousands probably, but hundreds of people are involved in making these monumental behemoths of projects actually work at all. So the idea that
you could attribute it to just the one name or something is...
Well, right, but even just the idea of anime specifically being like, oh, the mangaka is so good.
Sure, because let's be real. As far as percentage workload, it is definitely more than you would have in a lot of other mediums, right? But
no, totally.
Still not all of it.
Still not all of it. And in a lot of ways, there's anime out there where I've seen them and I'm like, wait, what's the source material for this? And I'm like, oh my God, a team of people elevated this work to being this in the anime. That's incredible. Like, that's miraculous. That is something to be studied. So the fact that we're getting this here through that little bit of indirection of or misdirection of being a, what is it, a round stage play or a stage around?
All around.
Stage, or
something like that.
Yeah. That whole side of things makes it so I'm like, okay, cool. So this is something I know nothing about. I'll have to like actually be open to and taking in everything here.
Even still, we don't really know much of anything about all around stage plays or whatever, right? Like if you notice,
in this actual show thus far, no.
Yeah, we didn't really see anything of the actual play, and even when they were talking about it afterwards, it was all general things that they were saying rather than specifics of this aspect of the things correlating to this thing that they did. It was
it wasn't the specific directorial techniques that could only be done in the play.
It was a very eloquent way of saying, oh wow, they really understand their medium,
right?
Right, yeah.
And medium changes things. Medium changes things a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm just excited to get into this here. But wow, yeah, a lot to talk about in this episode. Despite it's a very unique kind of commentary episode rather than being a very plot heavy episode.
And I am A-okay with that.
I'm A-okay with that too. If they want to make the next episode be one where it's more plot heavy because now we've kind of done the commentary thing,
I think that
kind of race ahead and do like a lot of the actual production here after Abiko's watched the play.
Well,
that'd be pretty sick. Or maybe having new types of struggles in the communication starting again.
That's what I was gonna say. I think that's what it's gonna be. Is that Abiko watches the play. We don't need to see the play in full because we're gonna be seeing a different play in a lot more detail, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe we'll get to see some of the interactions between Abiko and I forget the name of the playwright, but them basically working together.
It was like Gao or Gao.
Yeah, something like that. Or Goa or
Goa is
I think Goa. Yeah. I think it was Goa. But basically them then working together and being like, okay, now that we have like us, the audience has a bit of an understanding of where they're coming from an emotional and corporate standpoint. Mm-hmm. But then we also have the bits of perspective into like some of the changes with like the characters for the stage play. So then we could see, if maybe, your character gets, a bit more serious treatment or something because, Abiko figures out a way to make it so they don't just have to be the, instead of somber, the, happy-go-lucky, all right, yeah, go fight, kill, type person. But
yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon and get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel. See if any of that interests you. We'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.